Alright, what's up everybody? Hope you all are doing well. This is going to be a new type of video. I've never done a commentary response type video before, but this really bothered me the other day, and I left a comment picking apart this, but I saw my comment didn't gain any traction, so I feel I had to make this video just to get my thoughts out here and pick it apart so more people will see it. So the other day I watched a video by EndymionTv, and the video is called Bethesda was just forced into a Fallout deal they hate, but the original title was the Fallout deal nobody wanted plus Bethesda finally admits it. So he changed the title. So I don't know what that's indicative of, if he just thought it'd be easier, or I'm not sure. But anyways, I'm going to read a bunch of parts of my comment or ad-lib it, because this is basically just a video talking of me saying the exact same talking points of my comment, but in video format, so hopefully some more people will see it. I unfortunately only could make it about 24 minutes in before I got impatient because of all the various problems I have with the video. The core concern of the video, which is modern Obsidian still capable of making a good Fallout, is completely valid. However, the video is heavily biased, cherry picks data, omits critical context, and relies on several logical fallacies. The first claim in the video that he made was that Obsidian isn't interested, and cited an interview article from last year in November about how the studio said that they're not interested in making Fallout and they want to make their own IPs going forward. But here's the thing is, sure, if you take that at face value, but if you look at the actions of Obsidian over the years, and even recent confirmation by Chris Avellone proves that that's bullshit. They are interested in making another Fallout. It was basically a diplomatic and coping mechanism statement that they put out, which makes sense, because if Bethesda keeps saying no for years, eventually you're gonna say, yeah, I don't think we're gonna ever get the IP, so we might as well just say we're not interested anymore. But yeah, they weren't interested because they keep getting shut down. That's ridiculous. And one of the smoking gun things that proved that Obsidian is still interested in making Fallout was Chris Avellone recently confirmed that Josh Sawyer was secretly developing a Fallout-like title that Bethesda killed when they found out about it. Chris Avellone even stated that he's not sure if any of those assets were kept or saved, but if they did, they could make their way into the new project. So that really just proves that the key developers from Fallout New Vegas still care about it, because this was Josh Sawyer. This wasn't just a random New Vegas dev that's still on Obsidian. This is the lead dev for Fallout New Vegas back in the day, and he's going to be heading the new Fallout as far as I know, or what we've been told anyways. Here's another major problem is he cited Chris Avallone's numbers, which Chris actually added various notes on his numbers, so you can't just look at the numbers and be negative about it. So in the X post that Chris made of all the devs that are still at Obsidian that worked on New Vegas, only 16 still remained. But he notes optimistically, of those 16 devs, those were all key roles in architect positions. Those are the most important positions for Fallout New Vegas. Those are the bones or foundation of what made New Vegas basically. Everyone else that wasn't an architect is basically like a code monkey, which is kind of a negative term, but I'm not using it in a negative term in this context. I just mean it to mean that these are basic coders, people that do less important stuff. They're not the design philosophy and so on at Obsidian for New Vegas, as far as I know, or to a much lesser extent compared to the director Josh Sawyer. He also noted that Tim Kaine and Leonard Boyarsky are at Obsidian again, or not again, but they're working at Obsidian, and they're probably going to work on the Fallout. Tim Kaine in particular, I don't really recognize Leonard Boyarsky, but Tim Kaine is the literal creator of Fallout 1. So yeah, I do agree with Chris that is a major plus. But yeah, it's not complete doom and gloom. You have most, or if not all, of the key developers, as far as Chris Avellone is aware, and even key developers or architects from the previous entries of Fallout, the original ones, like Tim Kaine. But you're allowed to be pessimistic or optimistic about all the people I listed and all the people that are still missing, but you need to present the full picture and let people come to their own conclusion about all the data, not just present stuff that proves your point, which is my problem with Endy's video. Now on to my third major criticism is he quotes Josh Sawyer in an interview talking about how he likes to explore society, calling it a red flag, and that Fallout shouldn't explore society because it's a sci-fi fantasy, so it can't be taken seriously or give meaningful commentary. Now let me just point out that I actually do agree with his sentiment. I don't want Fallout turned into a soapbox for modern political correctness or heavy gender ideology lectures like he fears will happen, like what happened with like Outer Worlds 2 or whatever. But to say that sci-fi fantasy can explore society meaningfully is unequivocally false. Sci-fi fantasy has been doing that for decades, probably as long as media has existed, to be honest. And two major examples of sci-fi stories that have major commentary on society is Animal Farm and Lord of the Rings. Animal Farm is just a straight up allegory of the Bolsheviks' rise to power in Russia. It's just a straight up retelling of how Stalin came into power, you know? As for Lord of the Rings, I hear that Tolkien was reacting to the real horrors of the world wars and industrialization. Tolkien himself didn't really like the strict like allegorical sense that Animal Farm had, but he was open to applicability, meaning that the readers can see the real world parallels between that and like Lord of the Rings without it being a one-to-one retelling, you know? Fallout has always been about exploring society. The very premise of the game is about how war never changes, and the reason why war never changes is because men can't change, because the nature of humanity cannot change. In New Vegas, they actually explore the societies and governments in and around the Las Vegas area. The three major factions obviously are NCR, Caesar's Legion, and Mr. House, all with their own problems and advantages. And this isn't even getting to the fact that we can do an independent New Vegas with all the messy freedoms that come with it. But let's just stick with the three main factions: NCR, Caesar's Legion, and Mr. House. NCR is a bureaucracy, Caesar's Legion is a tribal brutal dictatorship, and Mr. House is a tenocracy autocrat. And then there's all the other factions like the tribes and communities, such as, to name a few, Khans, Good Springs, Brotherhood of Steel, and their relationships and history with all the other factions and how they feel about them and how they can support or hinder those factions. I feel I can rant and ramble on and on about this one specific point, but I think you all get my point now, is that the very idea that sci-fi fantasy can't give meaningful commentary on society is unequivocally false. And look, again, just to reiterate my point, I do agree about the general sentiment that I don't want modern sensibilities put into a Fallout. I think that would reduce the quality of the product overall, but to say that other extreme is just not true and would result in a less than optimal product for Fallout, at least for me. And I'm sure a lot of other hardcore fans of New Vegas and Fallout 2 even. Now on to the final point that I took note of from Endy was he made a statement saying that he'd rather the IP stay dormant forever than risk a bad game, which is understandable, but that's just not realistic. The issue with that stance is it basically means wait forever, because there's no such thing as a perfect game or a sequel. Everything has their problems. Fallout 1, 2, New Vegas, they all have their own issues, even though they're classics and are what I consider the best in the series, by far. Honestly, Fallout really needs to start taking some educated risk in putting itself out there and experimenting, you know? And I think that's what Asha and Xbox Studios are doing right now, is they're making the general right call in that it's time to start experimenting with the Fallout IP to fully capitalize on it, because Bethesda has shown that they're not willing to do it. They're just hoarding the IP and letting it slowly decay and rot over time. And just to be clear, I'm not saying that Obsidian is going to make a great Fallout. I'm not sure if they will. I don't know. I don't have full confidence that they will make a good Fallout. They might make a mid or even terrible one like Endy is implying, but honestly, the evidence points to a much more hazy answer, is we don't know until it comes out. I forgot where I heard it, but if I remember where I did hear it, I'll be sure to have it in the video and or link it in the description. But what I heard was that the next Fallout by Obsidian has like a minimum development cycle of at least 3 years, so a lot can change there in that time. So hopefully the industry ends up in a better place within 3 years. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. One last point, and I'm most likely repeating myself, but I just want to make sure the point gets across, is I would rather they keep experimenting with the Fallout IP. I'd rather they have a mix of hits and misses, hopefully more hits than misses, because that's just how the franchise can learn and evolve. It doesn't evolve when you sit on the IP and hoard it forever like Bethesda, which is the biggest problem with Bethesda, as I said earlier. Bethesda's basically been resting on their laurels for years, which is Fallout and Elder Scrolls. They haven't done anything of note for years for either franchise. They've just been re-releasing or remastering, or I guess like in Oblivion's case, remaking, but even that's not really like a remake. That's just a kind of scuffed version of a remaster that isn't getting the support it should be getting with updates. No wonder Xbox took the IP away from Bethesda. They're not capitalizing on it fully. They need to make their money back. Xbox is not in a good place these days. Everyone knows it. Even Asha's openly stated it with the restructuring and layoffs. If Bethesda can't make titles right now for their IPs, it is smart that Xbox is pulling stuff away like Fallout and handing it to studios that might be able to make something good, like Obsidian doing the next Fallout game. And despite all the duds that Obsidian has been making, I think Xbox is right. I think Obsidian is still the most obvious answer for making a potentially good Fallout. I think Xbox should take it even further, in fact. I think they should push the experiments to other potential studios that could make a good Fallout. And this isn't even just a thing with Fallout, but we're just going to focus on Fallout for the intent of this video. One studio I think could do a potentially good Fallout spinoff is InXile. InXile are actually the current holders of Wasteland, and they're also owned by Xbox Studios. They could do a Fallout spinoff, which is isometric RPG, just like the classic Fallouts and Wasteland still is to this day. Anyways, that's it for this video. I'm out for now. Peace.